This is the final video in my Black Friday PlayStation Store sale series. This one here, we're going to be looking at PlayStation 5 games, and unfortunately the premium that PlayStation 5 owners have to pay on games these days, which kind of sucks. Let's have a look at these games. One of the headline games is Spider-Man Miles Morales for $20, 60% off. I think this, I think we've had this price point for this game before. It probably should be this price point pretty regularly at this point, because it is kind of like a Spider-Man 1.5. It's basically DLC for the original Spider-Man game. And while that's great, and the game plays great, and the narrative is good behind it and everything as well, a lot of money for what it is, you're not getting a huge amount of content. So I think it's a bit of a tough pill to swallow, paying so much for this one, but it was like a PS5 launch game, and I guess that's probably why the price of it is so high. This will go down over time though if you are holding out for it, but look, it's a good game. It's just, it's expensive, that's all. Ratchet & Clank A Rift Apart is almost 60% off, down to $29. It would be good to see this a little bit cheaper, maybe like $25 at this point, because it is more than a year old. This game is great. I can't really fault it because it is Ratchet, it is a mascot platformer, and they have done a ton of really unique and cool things with it. The challenge is it's just Ratchet, which I guess is like a criticism as well as a compliment. It's good, but it is just a mascot platformer, and it has its shortcomings because of that. Price point for this has always been a little bit high and has retained a really high price point, so good to see it discounted, but it would be good to see it discounted a bit more than this. I do recommend it though, but price is high. Deathloop is $20, $19.79. There is a bundle for this as well with Tokyo Ghostwire. We can pick them both up, I think, for $39. We've talked about it in another video a couple of days ago. Deathloop is a first-person shooter where you basically have to continue to replay the same sequence of game until you get it perfect. It's kind of like that Groundhog Day idea where you just have to keep repeating things over and over again until you get it right. It's kind of like a miniature, it's not a full game. I mean, it is a full game, but it's short. Like it's a very small game. But this, yeah, that's all I have to say on Deathloop. A lot of people love Deathloop. It got like 10 out of 10s across the board. I didn't love it as much. It was fine. It was fine. Resident Evil Village is discounted down to $30. This is not a great discount. I think we've seen this before on it. Maybe because the gold edition has come out recently, the price for this is kind of being held a little bit. RE Village, I love the Resident Evil franchise, but the games do get discounted, you know, pretty heavily. We've seen RE2 and RE7 down to less than $15. So Village will be the same in another 12 months. I think by Easter next year, you should be able to pick this game up, the non-gold version of this game up, for I would say like $19. That's what I reckon. So if you hold out a little bit longer, you should be able to get this a bit cheaper. It's probably just holding value, maybe because it's a PS5 game, and RE games tend to do that for a little bit. Borderlands 3 PS4 and PS5 edition is down to $14.99. Great price on this one, honestly. I know we've seen it discounted like this before, but it's a good price. This game is really, really superb as well. First person game you can play with your buddies. There's a bit of a co-op adventure, but with up to 4 people, and it's a looter shooter, which I think I've talked about in like a million other videos, so you know what that is by this point. Borderlands 3, great. Look, I recommend this one. It's a good price on that one. Sackboy, A Big Adventure, another launch title for the PS5, $20. I think this is a decent price on this one as well, honestly. It would have been good to see the other launch PS5 games come down to this. Like, I know Miles is discounted down to this price, but I think this is a bigger game, like a more complete game than Miles Morales is. Even though Miles is probably a better game, Sackboy, A Big Adventure is just a fun take on the Little Big Planet franchise as more of a mascot platformer rather than a 2D platformer with the create elements. This one's more of a traditional 3D mascot platformer. Kena Bridge of Spirits, another 3D mascot platformer, funnily enough. This one here though, rather than being more of the modern era mascot platformer, it feels more old school, more like the old Ratchets and those kind of games from the PlayStation 2. In terms of scope and scale. So Kena Bridge of Spirits got fantastic reviews when this one came out. PS4 and PS5 game here, so you're getting both for the price of $20, which is good. So keeping in mind, it was only $40 to begin with. It wasn't released as like a full retail AAA style game. It definitely was in more of that AA digital space, I would say. Guardians of the Galaxy down to $20. This is after 1 year on the market. This was a massive AAA game for Square. I think it was Square who launched this one last year. It's decent. It's not a co-op game like you would expect. It's a single player narrative game. You would think a game like this, you'd be able to play as all of the Guardians, but that's not the case. It's a decent enough third-person action game. It's a narrative action game, I would say. Very similar to like Tomb Raider, Uncharted, any of those kind of games. I'd probably liken it the closest to. Decent enough game here for 20 bucks. I'd recommend this one. If you like any of those kind of extreme sports style games, then Riders Republic is a good option as well. This is very similar to Steep. It kind of takes Steep to the next level. It's got a mixture of like motocross, snowboarding, skiing, downhill skydiving, I guess it's called. It's in that whole like extreme sports space. Didn't really do particularly well when it came out a couple of years ago, unfortunately. Good to see it discounted a bit here. Demon Souls, 30 bucks. Demon Souls is a great game, so don't get me wrong when I say this, because I think it's fantastic. I just think the price for this is too high after 3 years, and it being a launch title for the PS5. I think this one should be $20 by this point, the same as Miles and Sackboy. It's a shame to see it retaining value. Well, it's good to see it retaining value, but it's a shame to see it so high. Demon Souls is a great game. It's like the predecessor to Dark Souls, so it is tough as nails, and it looks fantastic on the PS5. I recommend this game, but the price is high. That's all I'm gonna say on that one. Returnal, same deal with this one. This one came out, I think, like 3 or 4 months after the PS5's launch, and it came out as a $70 game. I think this one should have been a AA style price point, so probably more in that like $49, $59 price rather than $70. $29 for this, like a year after it's launched, I think is still high as well. I reckon this one should be down to 20 bucks by this point too. I think it did really well in reviews. Everyone who's played this game says it's absolutely fantastic. I just think the price is too high. I don't like paying tax for being a PS5 owner. It really bothers me, and unfortunately, the next couple of games have got the same problem. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, 60% off, $20 for this one. This is Uncharted 4 and Uncharted The Lost Legacy together in one little package. So you're paying $10 each for these on PS5, which I think is a pretty reasonable price point. The upgrade is kind of minor from the PS4 though. It's not massive, and the trophy list is kind of messed up on this one as well. But it is a PS5 upgrade if you're looking for that. I think this only ever got released because they were releasing it for PC rather than actually for PS5, and that was probably more of an afterthought. Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy are both fantastic games though. 20 bucks, yeah, $10 each, it's a decent price for this bundle. I talked about these in another video, but Horizon Forbidden West and GT7. So Forbidden West is down to $30 for PS4, but it's $40 for PS5, which sucks. And Gran Turismo is exactly the same, $30 for PS4, $40 for PS5. Obviously both cheaper if you go pick them up on like Amazon or Best Buy or something like that. I think these prices need to be unified, Sony. You need to have these the same. Why are they not the same? I understand one's next gen, but they're fundamentally the same game. It's just, I don't know, I don't like paying more for being an early adopter of your next gen console. Am I the only one that shares that sentiment? Is that just me, or do other people feel that way? I'm not sure. I've also got The Last of Us Part 1, which I had a bit of a rant in one of my other videos about. $49 for this one, which is probably the price it should have come out for at launch. It's a remake, a full remake from the ground up of The Last of Us, and I guess they need to get money for that, but should they have made it in the first place? I don't know. The Last of Us is a great game. It's definitely one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 3, and probably one of my favorites on the PS4 as well, but it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for this one, so Last of Us Part 1. And those are the PS5 games. Unfortunately, they're a little bit more expensive than I would have liked. Sorry to sound so negative about it, but I don't like paying more for the same thing. It's just a little bit frustrating. Let me know if you picked anything up from this or from the rest of the sale, and hopefully you enjoyed the Black Friday sales coverage for 2022. Thanks for watching.